My character never felt good enough or thin enough or smart enough or pretty enough. And yet she heals me by saying that those imperfections make you so perfectly who you are.
Barbara Niven, the embodiment of quiet resilience in Hollywood, was once turned down for a role for one simple reason: too old. She was only 34 at the time, at an age when people in this brutal industry start being labeled as past their prime. Barbara was just getting started. A single mother who drove her child to school each morning and crossed 3 counties each night to sell real estate, she squeezed in acting classes between client appointments, armed with nothing but determination and a dream most dismissed as foolish. She didn't have the classic Hollywood beauty. She had no fame, no one backing her. Entering the entertainment industry at an age when most were starting to step back, Barbara Niven had virtually no shot. But 30 years later, her face had graced over 100 television films, thousands of commercials, and become a familiar presence in the memory of millions of American viewers. Not because she was a star, but because she felt like someone they knew. A woman who was warm, strong, and real. Barbara didn't become famous the way the media prefers. She didn't explode onto the scene or make a shocking entrance. She chose to win over the public in another way, slowly, steadily, and sincerely. And that's precisely what made her one of the most memorable faces on American television. This is the story never fully told, of a woman once dismissed as too old at the very start, who kept walking quietly forward and ultimately became a source of emotional strength for millions. Barbara Lee Buchholz was born on February 26, 1953, in Portland, Oregon. She grew up in a family with 3 daughters. Her parents, George and Edie, were strict and valued discipline. They lived by traditional thinking and discouraged dreaming, especially anything deemed unrealistic. From a young age, Barbara lived in an environment full of rules. She went hunting and fishing with her family, learning to be self-reliant early on. But by the age of 5, she had already told her mother that she wanted to become an actress. No one took it seriously. To them, it was just a child's whim. But Barbara showed a genuine passion for acting, often performing in school plays and at her friends' birthday parties. Those early experiences in performing arts laid the foundation for her future career in entertainment. No one knew how mature her thoughts were at such a young age. In 3rd grade, Barbara studied so much that she developed migraines. She did so much homework that her teachers in school had to intervene, eventually calling a parent-teacher meeting. Afterward, she was banned from doing extra assignments for the rest of the school year. Barbara wasn't exceptionally gifted, but she pushed herself to do more than others, even when no one asked her to. She attended David Douglas High School. Throughout her school years, she had little exposure to the arts. After graduation, she enrolled in college, but dropped out after just 6 months. Then came a string of jobs. Barbara worked at a foundry, then moved on to export coordination, then construction contracting, modeling, and finally real estate. None of these jobs lasted long. She wasn't outstanding, but she was diligent and made a decent living. Most of what she did had nothing to do with the arts, but it gave her a deep, practical understanding of life. Those experiences quietly became the emotional reserves she would later bring into every role she played. Barbara entered Hollywood in her 30s, later than almost every standard in the industry. At that point, she was a single mother, had no formal acting education, no mentor, and had to handle everything on her own to pursue a career that most people called unrealistic. In the beginning, Barbara took on stunt work and nameless background roles. She stood behind the scenes, performing stand-ins for lead actresses, without credit, without dialogue. But through that, she learned how a set operates, how cameras work, and picked up the craft in an unorthodox way, by watching and trying. Her first officially credited role came in the television film Promise, 1986. It was a small part, barely noticed. But for Barbara, it was her first taste of what it really felt like to be in front of the camera. There was no applause and no one remembered her from the film. But after years of quiet preparation, she knew she had just opened the first door. She went on to appear in guest roles in series like My Two Dads and Equal Justice, continuing to take small parts throughout the late 1980s and early 1990s. Barbara gradually gained attention thanks to her disciplined work ethic. She memorized all her lines, showed up on time, never complained, and gave her all, even if she was only on screen for a few minutes. In 1996, she landed the role of Brenda Dickerson in the long-running soap opera The Bold and the Beautiful, her first major breakthrough in television. The role brought her wider recognition and opened up more meaningful opportunities. 2 years later, Barbara received a special opportunity to portray Marilyn Monroe in HBO's The Rat Pack, 1998, a film that depicted the lives of legendary entertainers and their ties to the Kennedy family. Though not a leading role, portraying a cultural icon like Monroe was no easy feat. Barbara didn't mimic Marilyn. She embodied a more melancholic, feminine Monroe, full of depth, in tune with the film's political and artistic tone. It became one of her most notable performances of the 1990s, showcasing her versatility and subtlety as an actress. Following her portrayal of Monroe, Barbara continued to leave her mark in shows like One Life to Live and Pensacola, Wings of Gold. In Pensacola, she played Kate, the owner of the Bucket Bar near a military base. It was the first role where TV audiences truly remembered her face. Kate wasn't a lead character, but she was relatable, grounded, and layered, something Barbara portrayed so naturally it felt effortless. From that point on, viewers began to associate her with the image of a strong yet warm woman, not flashy, but always dependable. Barbara was never the actress everyone chased after, but she became the kind of performer people felt familiar with. The kind where, the moment she appeared on screen, you'd think, "Ah, it's her." Barbara's versatility as an actress was most evident in the sheer volume of her work. After years of supporting roles and blending into the background for others to shine, Barbara gradually became a regular face in Hallmark and Lifetime television movies, where audiences weren't looking for superstars, but for sincerity. She didn't cause a stir, but whenever she appeared, viewers felt reassured, because they knew if Barbara was in the film, it would at least offer comfort, something that resembled a piece of real life they themselves had once lived through. One of the clearest milestones was her role as Megan O'Brien in the series Chesapeake Shores. Barbara portrayed a mother who had once walked away from her family, made mistakes, caused pain, but returned, trying to make amends. No sermons, no excuses, just effort, quiet and persistent. Audiences saw themselves in Megan, flawed, wounded, but still hopeful for a second chance. And they believed Barbara when she embodied that, not because of acting technique, but because of a feeling, the sense that she understood the character from within, without needing to perform. No major award was ever given for her portrayal of Megan O'Brien, but this was the kind of role that made people remember a face, even if they forgot the character's name. Holiday movies, familiar family scripts, stories of healing gradually became Barbara's own territory. She didn't compete for lead roles. She simply became irreplaceable, the go-to when directors needed someone who carried lived experience, warmth, and trustworthiness. In cinema, Barbara never chased the mainstream. She carved out her own path, choosing independent films often centered on social or human rights issues, with smaller audiences but greater depth. A Perfect Ending, 2012, was the clearest example. In it, she played a woman trapped in a cold marriage, beginning to rediscover herself and yearn for real intimacy. It wasn't an easy role, but Barbara brought to it exactly what she had: age, experience, and truth. No exaggeration, no overacting, just honesty. Success came late, but Barbara never let time define her worth. She didn't need to be at the center of the screen, only to be present and real. Barbara's success didn't come only from the roles she played. It also stemmed from her ability to use her own life experiences to help others, especially those grappling with fear, pressure, and self-doubt in their careers. Alongside acting, Barbara became one of the most trusted coaches in Hollywood, especially in the areas of on-camera presence and auditioning. Actors, hosts, and artists, particularly those in image crises or new to the industry, were often sent to train with her before stepping onto set. Reality show contestants, newscasters, and emerging talents came to her not to be remade, but to uncover the most authentic yet professional version of themselves. She didn't use gimmicks. Instead, she helped them dig deep into their message, voice, eyes, connection to the camera, and emotional control. Every coaching session was recorded so clients could watch and adjust in real time. Barbara also coached remotely via Skype, supported her clients through email and phone, and offered in-person sessions in Los Angeles studios or on-site upon request. She also offered a program called Unleash Your Star Power, a training system designed to help anyone build a personal brand and use media effectively, even if they'd never stepped into the entertainment world. But what made Barbara truly respected wasn't just her technical expertise, it was her honesty. She never hid her personal battle with an eating disorder, which once left her exhausted and isolated for years. She spoke openly about it at talks, workshops, and conferences, from college campuses to major corporate events, so others would feel empowered to speak up and seek help. She also founded the ACT as If method, a system that uses acting techniques to help people behave and live as if they've already achieved their goals. It wasn't about belief or visualization alone, but concrete action. "Don't wait until you're ready," Barbara said. "Live your dream now, not someday." Students of Barbara often said she didn't just teach them skills, she changed how they saw themselves. Beyond the training room, Barbara also became a renowned motivational speaker and the author of several well-received books. Titles like Unleash Your Star Power, Be a Video Marketing Superstar, Act as If, and Live Your Dreams became powerful tools that offered both inspiration and actionable strategies for personal transformation. Her book, 111 Star Power Tips. Insider Secrets from a Hollywood Pro received positive reviews on Amazon, earning a 4.0 out of 5 stars, proof of its practical value and audience impact. Her Act as If method was also widely praised at conferences, helping thousands build confidence, refine their image, and communicate more effectively. Barbara's first marriage came early, when she was just 21. At that time, she wasn't yet an actress, just a young woman trying to live a stable life. Her husband was Ronald Garrison, a man outside the entertainment industry, not a public figure. They had a daughter together, Jessica. During this period, Barbara and her husband worked side by side, trying to build a traditional family life, but it didn't last. The girl who once told her mother at age 5 that she wanted to be an actress now found herself stuck in a role she never chose. Irreconcilable differences surfaced. She became a single mother, without child support, without a safety net, and without a clear plan for the future. After her first marriage, Barbara entered a phase of juggling motherhood, work, and the quiet question of when and where she had let go of her dream. Then came her second marriage to David Alexander in 1985. By then, Barbara had started to approach the entertainment world, though she had yet to land a significant role. But like the first, this marriage didn't last. Few details were ever made public, but one thing was clear. Barbara once again walked away from a marriage with nothing but lessons in independence. It wasn't until her third marriage that Barbara entered a publicly visible relationship. She married David Niven Jr., the son of legendary actor David Niven. They wed in 1993, when Barbara was in her 40s and just beginning to land recurring roles in her career. This marriage drew more public attention, not only because of David Niven Sr.'s fame, but also because Barbara was finally appearing more regularly on screen. but attention didn't equal stability. They divorced in 1998, ending their 5-year marriage. There was no scandal, no public fallout, just another quiet departure from a relationship that no longer fit, as quietly as she had entered it. 3 marriages, none that lasted, but all left their mark. Barbara never romanticized her love life, nor did she use it as a story to gain sympathy. What she did was keep going, raising her child, holding on to her dream, and refusing to lose herself again. At 72, Barbara Niven no longer chases the spotlight, but she has never stepped away from the world of art. She continues acting, media coaching, hosting workshops, and engaging in social campaigns, but at a different pace, calmer, more intentional, and fully her own. She lives in California, in a home not far from the city, where there's enough quiet for writing, reflecting, and caring for her beloved pets, the small creatures she's always considered family. On days when she's not on set, Barbara devotes her time to her daughter, her grandchildren, and herself. Recently, she appeared on several talk shows to discuss the final season of Chesapeake Shores. The same warm gaze, the same calm but resonant voice. But what moved the audience wasn't the role. It was the way she recounted her journey. No embellishments, no defenses, just truth, raw and reflective, in a way that made people see themselves in her story. Barbara Niven maintains a close relationship with her family and often shares intimate moments on her social media platforms. On Instagram and Facebook, she posts photos and videos of family gatherings, holiday celebrations, and time spent with her grandchildren. These glimpses reflect the deep bonds and affection she shares with her loved ones. In a video posted in July 2024, Barbara spoke about the importance of cherishing time with family and friends, especially after learning that a close friend had fallen seriously ill. She emphasized, "Life is short. If you're not doing what you love, or with the people you love, change that now." She also shares memorable moments with her grandchildren, playing together, learning new things. These posts don't just reflect her pride and joy, but also inspire others to nurture strong family ties. Through these honest and heartfelt social media moments, Barbara Niven connects with fans not just as a celebrity, but as someone who quietly champions love and appreciation for family. In the public eye, she appears strong, composed, and always put together. But behind that image is a long, quiet battle with her own body. For many years, Barbara lived with a sense of losing control. She feared gaining weight, feared the camera, feared the mirror. But more than anything, she feared herself. "I was afraid of food, afraid of the mirror, and afraid of myself," she once said at a seminar. No one forced her to admit it. She spoke the words herself. After years of keeping that truth as a secret, she lived with every single day. Every meal was a battle. Every photo shoot felt like a trial. Every compliment on her appearance was a double-edged sword, because it pushed her to tighten up, to maintain the image even harder. No one saw Barbara at 3 a.m., waking up in anxiety over how her body would look on screen. No one saw her rehearsing lines while rocking her child to sleep, all while trying to figure out how to pay the rent, with no idea when the next role would come. As a single mother, Barbara didn't have the luxury of falling apart. But she wasn't a superhero. She simply had no other choice but to keep going. Recovering from an eating disorder didn't come with a breakthrough moment. It came with small, slow, repeated steps: meditation, therapy, conversations, journaling, and rewriting. Barbara stopped trying to be perfect. She learned to love herself. And once she could do that, she began sharing her story so that those suffering in silence, as she once had, would know they weren't alone. After everything, Barbara no longer tries to become someone else. She no longer hides the pain or plays the role of the strong woman just to make others comfortable. 3 marriages didn't hold her back. The pressure to look a certain way didn't erase her. The only thing that remains is her, and her choice to keep living. Barbara once said, "In every moment, you're either moving toward your dream or away from it." And after years of detours, she chose to move toward herself, slowly but steadily. From the wounds she once buried, Barbara began to speak. From the mistakes she once felt ashamed of, she forged lessons. She no longer avoids the past, but uses it to help others through the moments they thought were dead ends. Barbara's life isn't a textbook success story, but it is a clear reminder. You can still live truthfully, rise again, and keep walking, even after everything has fallen apart. Barbara Niven's legacy isn't defined by the number of films she appeared in, but by what she chose to share once the spotlight dimmed. In an industry that is notoriously cruel to age and imperfection, Barbara didn't try to keep up in the race. She chose something harder, to become a quiet anchor for those struggling under the weight of pressure and pain. As a national ambassador for American Humane, she not only represented animal welfare on film sets, but also promoted a deeply human message. Be kind to other beings, to colleagues, and to yourself. In workshops, she didn't say what was easy to hear. She spoke about the fear of being replaced with age, about the days she avoided eating for fear a camera would catch her belly fat, about the moments she wanted to quit the industry because she didn't feel beautiful enough. But instead of staying silent, like so many who had been through the same, Barbara chose to speak. Not to complain, but to break the isolation. She said, "Secrets made me sick. When they were spoken out loud, they stopped controlling me." In the media coaching world, Barbara wasn't a textbook coach. She was the one producers actually trusted with new faces before they appeared on reality shows, talk shows, or film sets. She didn't teach how to sound good. She taught how to sound real. She didn't teach people to act. She taught them to connect. And the strange thing was, when they stopped trying to be someone else, they became the most believable version of themselves. Beyond skills training, Barbara created the ACT as if method, using acting techniques to help people live as if they've already achieved their goals. It wasn't about dreaming, it was about doing. She once said, "We don't lack belief. We just lack the one step that turns belief into habit." Perhaps what makes Barbara truly respected isn't that she lived perfectly, but that she lived truthfully. She didn't try to inspire. She simply told the truth of what she'd lived through, and in doing so, helped others face the parts of their lives they were still hiding. Her legacy doesn't shine, but it burns steady, like a small flame kept alive in strong winds. Barbara once said, "I don't need to stand center stage anymore. I just want to know I'm creating something useful for others." The spotlight, while still present, is no longer the goal. It's simply a tool for her to use her lived experience to illuminate someone else's path. People often say, artists must perform. But for Barbara, an artist is someone who knows how to listen and understands that silence can carry its own weight. With an estimated net worth of $8 million, Barbara's financial success is attributed to her prolific acting career and production ventures. Her work in numerous films and television series, especially with Hallmark and Lifetime, has contributed significantly to her wealth. Beyond her professional endeavors, Barbara is also recognized for her advocacy work and active presence on social media, where she connects with fans and promotes causes close to her heart. Barbara Niven has been one of the busiest actresses in Hollywood for over 3 decades. She has appeared in more than 100 film and television roles, featured in over 2,500 commercials on TV and radio, hosted major media campaigns, and served 3 years on the National Board of the Screen Actors Guild, the union representing tens of thousands of actors in the U.S. And yet, strangely, her name has never been on the list of the most sought-after stars in the media. Because Barbara never chased fame. She only searched for a rightful place for her dream, a place that was quiet, steady, and powerful not through volume, but through endurance. In an industry obsessed with the next big thing, Barbara Niven is proof that consistency has its own kind of magnetism. She never had scandals for people to gossip about, no blockbuster lead roles to make headlines, but she had gratitude for doing what she loved, a heart wide enough to inspire others, and an integrity the entertainment world is increasingly missing. Barbara once said, "I didn't come here to be admired. I came to prove that dreams don't have expiration dates." And she meant it. She wasn't born to win, but she never accepted being counted out. She doesn't need to be called a legend, only not to be forgotten. By those who once saw themselves in the characters she played, by those who were lifted up in her coaching sessions, by those who quietly listened as she gave voice to the things others kept hidden. Barbara's greatest legacy isn't her roles or the numbers, it's her authenticity. She lived so truthfully that others found the courage to face themselves. And if you're walking through a season of uncertainty, unsure of where or how to begin again, remember, there was once a woman who was rejected at 34 for being too old, but who still stood up and kept going, inch by inch. If you didn't plant your tree 20 years ago, the second best time is now, just like Barbara did. Barbara didn't leave behind a trail of dazzling lights, but she left small, steady sparks in people's hearts, enough for them to believe. I deserve to be seen too. Everyone wants to be successful. But maybe we need to rethink what that means. Does success have to be the perfect ending? Or can it simply be feeling peace in your journey? If you've been moved by honest stories like Barbara Niven's, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next videos. We'll continue to share heartfelt, inspiring, and unforgettable journeys about the quiet ones who were never meant to be replaced.